is the North American Service broadcasting on 17.70, 15.42, 12.05.
How you will worship him together.
What have you done to its eyes?
The next time you're frightened in the dark, don't scream.
They are not what they claim to be.
You're listening to Radio.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Radio Grave.
Radio Grave. I'm here with Dom.
I'm here with Amber.
Oh my God. Part 2.
Part 2. This is the last episode of season 1.
Juan Uno.
Which is very cool. Very fun. And I think this is a great place to leave it off.
Shit gets wild.
Just to recap, since it's probably been
A week
at the longest since you've last visited this story. We were talking about the Happy Valley Dream Survey, and the Reddit user OneRegit had been trying to contact the Happy Valley Dream Survey, trying to have a conversation with them, and just weren't able to get into contact. So eventually they did get into contact, and that is where we're starting today.
That's where we're picking it.
So you can take it away. Tell me about it.
Yes, of course. So, in the early morning hours of May 6, 2020, OneRegit would post an update on their Happy Valley thread around 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Finally, the searchers had gotten what they had all been hoping for: contact. According to OneRegit, 2 searchers had finally received a response from the Happy Valley Dream Survey after many days of attempted contact. It was sometime around 4 a.m. Eastern Time when both of the searchers received a phone call but would fail to answer their phones.
Nice.
Yeah, good job. That's like the one thing you're supposed to do when they call. One of the searchers claimed that they received the call from Happy Valley sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:15 East. Their phone only rang for a few seconds, not long enough to be able to answer. The other searcher, who just so happened to be the same one from Kansas, who was initially rejected by Happy Valley, missed the call because she was asleep. Allegedly, she woke and attempted to answer, but was unable to do so in time. The Kansas searcher provided screenshots of her call log as proof, which showed that her phone rang at 3:15 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Kansas is split in between 2 time zones, by the way. A very small section observes Mountain Time, and the rest of Kansas observes Central Time. If Happy Valley was in Vegas, they would have made these calls around 1:15 a.m. Pacific Time, but if they were in Utah, they would have made these calls around 2:15 a.m. Mountain Time. Either way, it's the middle of the night. Both searchers would immediately contact OneRegit after receiving these calls, prompting OneRegit to make the aforementioned update. They got the calls, hit up OneRegit. It's COVID. Everyone's awake at 4 a.m. These people are Redditors. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So they don't sleep at normal hours. No more than 15 minutes after OneRegit's update about the searchers' phone calls, a second update would appear on the thread. OneRegit claimed they had been contacted themselves. According to OneRegit's update, they had received an unexpected text message from Happy Valley. Previously in the past, Happy Valley only ever responded after phone calls with automated messages, but this text was different. Not only was it unprompted, but the message itself was nothing OneRegit had ever seen before. The text read as such, quote, "I'm sorry, my responses are limited. You must ask the right questions." OneRegit eagerly responded to the text and asked Happy Valley who they were. It didn't take long before another message came through, and the text read, "What, so everyone's supposed to sleep every single night now? You realize that nighttime makes up half of all time." OneRegit was totally confused and disturbed by the texts, and claimed they were very creeped out by the responses they had received. OneRegit wrote in their update, "What the fuck? Clearly the numbers messaging service is not entirely automated. They're active right now."
So I'm not sure what the proof is exactly that they're active and that it's a real person. AI chat is a thing. Like it's saying the responses are limited. You can have messages that will be sent in response to certain words as prompts.
Right. To them, it seemed like it was unprompted because it didn't seem like automated. Like it seemed like there was someone on the other end.
It seems disconnected enough that to me, I would think it was a bot. Like what? Everyone's supposed to sleep at night now?
Right.
That to me seems like AI behavior.
Right. Well, and I kind of also thought that too, but I don't know. They just felt like that was proof enough. And that was the only response that it gave. The other searchers who were awake on the thread began to rapid-fire message Happy Valley, but only one other searcher received a string of responses that were very similar to One Regit's. Both One Regit and the searcher interpreted the text as having threatening undertones, and obviously not knowing who the stranger was on the other side, they began to feel worried that they were getting in too deep. Both of them felt it would be within their best interest to block the Happy Valley Dream Survey number and adopt the TextNow app as their primary tool for communication, and advised the other searchers to do so if they weren't already. TextNow is one of many free phone services funded by online ads and is only serviceable in the US and Canada. TextNow assigns a random phone number to the user and utilizes Wi-Fi as the main conduit for making calls and texts. TextNow can be used on desktops, laptops, tablets, and cell phones. As long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, the service can be used. Because TextNow is directly connected to the internet, it is not an entirely anonymous form of communication. An IP address will always be attached to any device that connects to any and all Wi-Fi and phone services in the world. This means no matter where you are, your location can be pinpointed to a generalized area, and as technology advances, so does the accuracy. The only way that you can avoid this is by using a VPN.
Like NordVPN?
Like NordVPN, but we are not sponsored by NordVPN.
This is a perfect place for an ad that we don't have to do.
So VPNs are basically...
It makes your IP somewhere else that you're not.
It makes it, so that...
To put it simply.
Yeah, and there's a multitude of uses for them, but a lot of people use it for anonymity.
Yeah.
And also to watch like Netflix in different countries.
Using their new TextNow numbers, One Regit and the searchers began to call and text Happy Valley in succession in an attempt to get a rise out of the caller by asking the right questions. What those right questions were, who knows? Meanwhile, with all the new activity, the more bored searchers began to engage again with a focus set on finding out whether or not the Happy Valley phone number really was from Las Vegas.
Right, because now they're like, okay, well, if it is active, if there is someone over there, where really is it?
Right. So a searcher would come out and comment that they were able to access information which verified that the Las Vegas number was a non-fixed VoIP, or in other words, a virtual phone number, and was most likely a Google Voice account. To us, it's painfully obvious that Happy Valley was not coming from a personal device, but at the time, without being able to be absolutely sure, it couldn't be assumed, which is weird.
Right.
I would have assumed.
I just would have been like, yeah, there's no way that this is someone's personal phone number. But people are like, well, let's not discount it. It's like, well, I don't think...
No.
After
hounding the Happy Valley Dream Survey all night and morning with no response, One Regit would be contacted by a random unnamed searcher the next day. This searcher claimed that the Happy Valley Dream Survey had sent them multiple unprompted texts in the middle of the night while they were trying to sleep. They admitted that they had called the Happy Valley Dream Survey before and had been actively assisting in the search, but they were not expecting to receive a response. The searcher provided screenshots which showed that the date matched, May 6th, but also that the times were aligned with when Happy Valley was active. Although the conversation is abrasive, there was a new piece of information that opened a new can of worms. In the messages, it appears that the searcher had angrily responded to Happy Valley after receiving a multitude of the automated "thank you for your participation" texts. The text evidence appears as such. Searcher says, "What, you're too stupid to read now?" Happy Valley says, "It is 4:56 p.m. Searcher says, "Time is not linear." Very cool. Happy Valley says, "What, you're too stupid to read now? It is 4:56 p.m. Thank you for participating in the Happy Valley Dream Survey," with a smiley face emoji at the end.
Yeah.
Cheeky minx.
Cheeky minx.
So, 4:56 p.m. What? Was Happy Valley on the other side of the globe? Because this was the middle of the night. According to the time difference, Happy Valley was likely located somewhere in Beijing, Singapore, or Taiwan. A few searchers ran with this theory, but this theory was quickly dismissed just because it was blatantly naive. Also, if Happy Valley was overseas, who was throwing up the flyers all over Provo?
It's solved. They're in Beijing. Because they said it was 4:56 p.m. in a text message in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like, come on, girl.
The spike in activity from the early morning hours of May 6th would be followed by another day or so of no communication at all. Feeling as if they were about to come to another standstill in the investigation, One Regit would update their thread one last time. One Regit explains that they feel as if they're possibly dealing with one of the following: someone who is bored and trying to pull a copycat hoax or prank in an attempt to troll people on the internet, someone who is attempting to create an ARG and in need of something to do because of the pandemic, fair enough.
Yeah.
someone who was very dedicated to their unconventional, elaborate art project. Lame, but
Yeah.
okay. Someone who was actually running a survey and collecting data on strange dreams. Some of these theories made more sense than others. Due to the lack of progression and skepticism about the validity of the mystery, more and more searchers began to jump ship. One regent felt that the Happy Valley mystery was eating away at them, and they had to get to the bottom of it all. They couldn't let it go. At the end of their update, one regent announced that they would be putting together a Discord server for the sole purpose of finding the truth, and only a handful of searchers were allowed to follow.
Right. So, one regent never returned to update their post again, and only appeared every now and again to respond to users who were still commenting on their thread. There are 171 comments listed on the archive, and against my best judgment, I read most of them. Almost all of them were useless, okay? But some provided some great information and perspective, especially from that period of time. A user posted a comment with a link in regards to a random text message that was an obviously strange coincidence. The text message said, "Hi from NPR's 1A. In this era of social distancing, are you having weird, vivid dreams? Tell us about them." He explained that the message was from the podcast show 1A and that he knew they were unrelated, but it was definitely weird timing. The 1A episode was published on May 5th, like literally the day before, and was titled Coronavirus, to Sleep, Perchance to Dream. This episode consists of discussion about a reported increase of vivid dreams and how existential stress affects our sleep. Another Redditor simply asked, "So it's not a Radiohead thingy?" This was in reference to a guerrilla marketing campaign for Tom York's 2019 album Anima. I don't know. Anima.
Yeah, I mean, Tom York would make an enema sounding album, yeah.
Anima. Anime.
Tom York's enema anime.
Before the release of the album, ads began to appear in the UK, which only provided a phone number for Anima Technologies. If the number was called, the line would play some electronic type music and then disconnect. Another user would comment about some promotional article in relation to a dream database. They would say, "I think I've heard of someone starting a dream database. Found this article, but I don't think this is actually the database I had heard about. My memory of it is just very vague." Attached was a link which led to an article by The Atlantic from 2013 titled, "An App to Build a Database of the World's Dreams." The article is nothing more than a promotion for Shadow, an app that is basically just a dream-friendly alarm clock, and also a journal where you can report your dreams. I've never heard of this, so it probably crashed and burned.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of dream database type things from like back in the day. If you look up like dream interpretation, a lot of those have like submission sections where like you look up a certain thing or a certain element or topic, and then there's submissions below where you can like make parallels with your own dream and then kind of interpret it that way.
Right, which is cool.
Yeah, which is cool and fine. But as for like a world dream database, Jesus.
A group of Redditors would discuss in a string of comments about a multitude of different theories. One commented that she had decided to contact the International Association for the Study of Dreams, but they denied any involvement with the surveys in Oregon and Utah. I've never heard of that, so
Yeah.
okay.
I'm also not a hippie.
Yeah. Another brought up the Dream Collection Agency, but that was quickly discounted by the others due to the fact that DCA is a very public group of creatives in a collective art exhibition. Just like Futel, they are not private. There were more than just theories floating around, but there were people who were trying to gain attention in their own following, the most obvious being the Magic Valley Dream Survey.
What?
I know, this is kind of sad though, I felt bad. A random Redditor would leave a comment on the thread saying, "This is really, really weird." Think of that girl who farts in the closet and she's like, "Did you hear that? I think that was a ghost." This is that. Quote, "This is really, really weird. I live hundreds of miles away from Happy Valley, and I just found a similar poster in my neighborhood. This one is for the Magic Valley Dream Survey. I thought it was kind of weird because I haven't seen a poster for a weird survey like this before. Plus, I had been having strange dreams. I'll make my own post, but I'm 99% sure that Happy Valley Dream Survey and the Magic Valley Dream Survey are related." Obviously, just a lonely random user wanting to make a copycat dream survey thread of their own. It's just sad because it's like, it's COVID. I know they're bored and they want to like hang out and like talk to people and like.
That's fine. They have chat rooms,
Yeah. Or just like do this, do this with, it's because they left. They're like, no, we're leaving. You guys are stupid. We're going to go do our own thing.
But I found one.
Yeah.
We're over it. Bye.
They just want to be involved. They're like just trying not to lose their minds during quarantine. Out of all of the 171 comments on One Regit's original thread, only one would stand out amongst the others. Not only was this one comment a huge breakthrough, but it also changed the course of the entire investigation altogether.
One Regit and the searchers would be notified that there was a connection that no one had realized before. A connection to the futuristic 2004 movie, I, Robot, starring Will Smith.
Oh my
You said
God.
we were going to talk about Will Smith. I fucking knew it.
Yes.
You're right. To refresh your memory about iRobot, and just so you know, Amber wrote this synopsis. I haven't seen iRobot in 400 years. But this...
I watched it like a couple months ago. Unrelated.
So, I mean...
It's not, yeah.
I'm just putting my trust in you. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I can already see... Will Smith plays a robot racist homicide detective who is assigned to investigate the death of the famous inventor, scientist, creator of the servant robot race that Will Smith loathes so much. Only to discover that there is one robot who is sentient and has existential depression, I guess. Fair enough. No, that's a good synopsis. You should write
For Netflix?
for Netflix, yeah. You should write their little blurbs for their movies.
I should.
I like it. So, in the beginning of iRobot, Detective Will Smith arrives at the crime scene of where the dead body of the robot inventor was discovered. Detective Will Smith is met by a hologram of the dead robot inventor, who coincidentally had a familiar relationship with Detective Will Smith. Amber writes, parentheses, don't worry, no spoilers. In case you're worried about iRobot spoilers in 2023 and beyond. So the hologram greets him and tells him that everything that is to come is a result from his death. Detective Will Smith asks the hologram, "Is there something you'd like to tell me?" The hologram responds, "I'm sorry, my responses are limited. You must ask the right questions." Where have we heard that before? So the first initial non-automated text response from Happy Valley was a quote from iRobot, right?
Cool.
So the Discord would also come to realize that the second text response, what, so everyone's supposed to sleep every single night now? You realize that nighttime makes up half of all time? Is from the pilot episode of Rick and Morty. Fucking cringe. This is turning awful.
Oh, think of how I feel.
So how are these related? Let's begin with the least important of the two, the Rick and Morty quote.
Yeah.
For many reasons, least important. It's unclear why the Rick and Morty quote was used as a response from Happy Valley Dream Survey, and no one really seemed to discuss what the connection would be.
No one talks about it at all. No one talks about
I
it.
fucking wouldn't. I don't care.
I was like, well, maybe I should look at it.
Yeah. You wanted to see what you could find, and you went straight to the source.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Rick and Morty fandom wiki, God, that sounds like a fucking cesspool. There were some mentions and scenes from the pilot episode which involved Morty being sleep deprived because of Rick taking him on adventures every night. When confronted about his bad influence on Morty, he says, "What, so everyone's supposed to sleep every single night now? You realize nighttime makes up half of all time." So that's the context of the quote. In the same scene as the original quote, Morty talks about his dreams, saying the reason why he was so tired was because his dreams were too loud, or something along those lines. In the next scene, Morty falls asleep in class during a math test and has a weird dream where he's surrounded by numbers floating around him as he falls into a liminal space of nothing but big red numbers. Then his crush shows up and it turns into a sex dream. And that's where the trail ends for the Rick and Morty reference.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. It's just, dreams. That's the only reference to dreams that I have anything with that. And I was like, goodbye.
Yeah.
You know what I did do though that I didn't mention? I read the fucking script. Like I read
of that episode?
Yes. Like
Sorry.
I tried. Like I really tried. And then I watched the clip of it to see if there was anything visual.
Yeah.
Nothing. It just was like kind of a waste of time that I could have been spending on other stuff. This made me think to myself, what kind of person is making this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just so the listener knows, there's a note on Amber's research notes that says, That's at least as far as I was willing to go at the time of writing this document. I'm like, that's fucking fair. I wouldn't want to go much farther either. It's not worth it. The iRobot quote is where the real focus should be. Initially, when one Regit and the other Redditors received the text response, "I'm sorry, my responses are limited, you must ask the right questions," they began to ask questions. Are you from the future? Is there a problem with the 3 laws? Are you the algorithm? Are you a dark horse? As we know, this was a failure, but now, with new context from iRobot, everyone finally knew what the right question was. So the big reveal, what was the question? In the scene from iRobot, the hologram tells Detective Will Smith, "I'm sorry, my responses are limited. You must ask the right questions." Eventually, Detective Will Smith asks the hologram, "Why would you kill yourself?" Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler in big big parentheses. Sorry.
God damn it.
Sorry.
No spoilers. Spoilers!
It spoils it for your...
Anyway, so he says, "Why would you kill yourself?" And the hologram responds, "That, detective, is the right question." If you enjoy our content, please rate, review, and consider becoming a patron by visiting patreon.com/radiograve. You can also support us with a one-time donation by visiting buymeacoffee.com/radiograve. Your patronage and support helps us continue to create content for you. You can stay up to date with us by following our Instagram account, Radio Grave Podcast. Thank you for listening. A series of screenshots on Reddit and Imager would provide the evidence they needed to progress deeper into the Happy Valley mystery. After the searcher asks the right question, Happy Valley responds, "That is the right question."
Yeah.
Another text followed which contained a series of seemingly random numbers and letters in parentheses. 9 space GOEH space 5 space JIT close parentheses. At first, this response seemed confusing, but then it was realized that this message was just in another language. So what did it say?
I would like to briefly preface this next segment because I've seen many different creators online say that they know for a fact that this message is in Haitian Creole, but others, including myself, have suggested otherwise. In order to not spread misinformation, I went and searched for the answer myself, which was not easy because I'm not a linguist, but I am also not comfortable with declaring something as fact when I can't even find any sort of supporting evidence of how it is meant to be consumed that way. People are like, "Oh, it's Haitian Creole." I'm like, "How?" And they're like, I'm like, "Bitch, that's not an answer." So after about 5 hours of intensive research, I finally figured it out. Point blank, the message is in Southern Min, a specific form of Min Chinese that is spoken in the Minnan region of Fushan and Taiwan. Southern Min has an astounding family tree of linguistic subgroups and dialects which are spoken all over Southeast Asia, and the most widely spoken Southern Min language is Hokkien. The Hokkien people are a Han Chinese ethnic group with ancestry traced to the southeastern region of Fushan who specifically speak Hokkien, and their language is hugely significant in the many formations of hybrid languages and particular dialects, especially in Taiwan. In fact, Taiwanese Hokkien is recognized as one of Taiwan's national languages and is a language that is strongly bound to identity. The Hokkien language plays a huge role in the Philippines as well.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah. Philippine Hokkien is one of the most commonly heard Chinese languages in the country and is spoken by over 3/4 of the Chinoy as a second or third language. Philippine Hokkien is considered to be the local Chinese lingua franca, or trade language, and is an almost strictly oral language due to its blend of other Chinese dialects and local dialects. Hokkien also plays a huge role in Hokkaglish, which is a blended common language that can be heard all over the Philippines in a variety of different settings, used in schools and restaurants and hospitals.
Yeah.
It's like everyone speaks it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yes or
it's
no?
just like Spanglish. And you mentioned it. Hokkaglish is a mix between Hokkien and Taglish. It's modern language.
The fact is that the text from Happy Valley Dream Survey is 100% in Hokkien, written in Romanized text and not in Haitian Creole. I don't know why people say that it's in Haitian Creole when it's not. When I heard that, I knew that wasn't right. And when I saw it, I knew it wasn't right. And I just needed to know specifically where it was from. I couldn't say, "Oh, I think that it's Asian."
I think it's Oriental.
I think it's some sort of Asian language. I don't know. He looked Asian. I think he was speaking Asian. Like, you know, it's...
Dude, Amber had me watch some of
Cable Guy
last night for the first time. I was like, yo, Jesus
so
Christ.
funny.
I liked it a lot. But go on.
But yeah, I just knew that it wasn't Haitian Creole. And I also did a little bit of research because Hokkien people live all over the world. What does the Chinese population look like in Haiti as well as also in the Caribbean in general?
Mm-hmm.
That shit's pretty dark because it's all connected to slavery. But in Haiti, there is currently literally like a population of 200 Chinese people. 200 people.
200?
Yeah. In all of Haiti.
Wow.
So, no. And also language blending there, at least in regards to like Hokkien specifically, like no. But in the Caribbean, there were a lot of slaves who were taken from Taiwan and that southern Fujian region. So their first language was specifically Southern Min Hokkien. So when you hear Chinese in the Caribbean, most of it's Mandarin, but a lot of it's Hokkien too. So we do hear that language everywhere in the world because Chinese is the most common language spoken in the world. But there are lots of different forms of Chinese, and it's an umbrella that I can't even go into because, for one, I'm not educated there. And second of all, it's beyond my understanding because my brain is so small. But I think that my brain is big enough to say that it's not Haitian Creole, so stop saying that.
Yeah.
So now that we have our facts straight in regards to what language the text was in, we can actually translate it. 9 goe 5 jeet 9 month 5 day September 5th.
September 5th.
What does that mean? What does September 5th mean? Oh, well, now the wheels are really going to fucking fly off the fucking vehicle here.
Yeah.
So
it's about to go in a hole.
we're literally like going straight down.
Down into the ground, but
Down
in
in-
a hole in the ground.
Like to hell. Yeah.
It's a tunnel.
Yeah.
When you Google the day September 5th, there are a few things that pop up. Under the sign of Virgo, the astrological sign of the Virgin, logical, practical, modest, September 5th is the day of charity, and it's the saint day for Mother Teresa.
Who I guess was a bitch.
Yeah. You can read the next one.
Oh. Out of all the minor national holidays, in my own opinion, the most important was World Samosa Day. I like veggie and lamb.
Other than World Samosa Day.
Yeah, that's the only day.
Nothing historically seems to have much significance.
Well, also it was like the National Protect Your Children Day, and I was like,
I only do that
samosas.
once.
I only do that once a
I do
year.
that once a year on
And
that day. Otherwise, it's to
Yeah.
the wolves. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, and I don't even do that because I'm eating samosas on that day. So you got to choose.
I'm like, do I have custody of kids today? If I have
No.
custody of the kids today, I'll protect them. But if,
I'll feed them
if
samosas.
not, it's samosa time.
I'll feed them samosas, but other than that, they can fend for themselves.
Don't leave. A searcher would end up bringing new information to the attention of the Happy Valley Discord after seeing a comment on one Regit's original thread. Paraphrased, the comment said, quote, "This may be something entirely separate, but I've been seeing random posts about something that's going to happen on September 5th, 2020 all over Reddit. I found this private sub r/5 September 2020 about a week ago. Not sure what it is, but it seems to have something to do with the dream realm and people having strange dreams about September 5th, 2020. I thought it was a weird coincidence coming across this Happy Valley thing, and that September 5th sub was interesting since they both involve strange dreams." And according to your notes, this is when everything really spirals.
Out of
just
control.
right now.
For me, at least, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a fucking wild ride now, so
Buckle up.
grab your dicks.
Grab your dicks.
So the searchers were quick to look into the September 5th subreddit, and when they did, they came upon a user named September 5 Survivor. For the sake of not having to say their whole name, we're going to call him Survivor 5. It was quickly discovered that Survivor 5's account had been created in November of 2019 and had been rather busy since its creation. Survivor 5's earlier comments and posts all relayed the same sorts of messages, all with the same sentiment. Something was coming on September 5th, and it was going to be very, very bad. One Regit would return to Reddit and post a brand new thread titled, Happy Valley Dreams Survey Update. Within this new thread, one Regit would relay all of the new Happy Valley information they discovered, most of which surrounded the user, Survivor 5, and the private September 5th subreddit. According to one Regit's update, This is what the searchers knew, paraphrased. Quote, "What this guy, Survivor 5, says is that many bad things will happen on September 5th, 2020. He says that the day of the 5th will be exactly 24 hours long instead of 23 hours, 56 minutes. Electronic devices will stop working, the Earth will move closer to the sun, and 1% of the world's population will disappear." He claims to have had dreams of a man in blue flames who told him about this event. Survivor 5 talks in codes and speaks about something called the organization. One Regent would go on to share more details about what the searchers had discovered in regards to September 5th, 2020. The earliest mention of September 5th, 2020 was a video posted on YouTube in November 2016 by a user named September 5, 2020. The video is titled 2020 Matter and does not have a description other than, "I created this video with YouTube Video Editor." The video itself is relatively uneventful. 3 minutes, 40 seconds of a yellow screen with the words, "September 5th, 2020 Matter" in Rainbow Comic Sans text.
And side note, when you look at the colors of the Comic Sans letters, there's no particular pattern that can be seen. And in my puzzle solving brain, this makes me think, oh, there is a possibility that it could be a cipher, but no one has ever pursued this avenue. And also, I will not pursue that avenue because I do not have time, period. So I never did.
You said there's no particular pattern, but you think it's a cipher?
It needs to be deciphered. That's what I mean, like a code. Like if it was automated, it would go in a certain order. But it doesn't.
Okay. So they were randomized order.
They were in a randomized order.
That makes sense.
It was like yellow, green, blue, red,
green, yellow, blue,
random.
Yeah.
Brown, two.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Two. Two is my favorite color.
I was like, oh, like it reminded me of the ARG, one of the first ARGs, which I might do an episode about. I don't know, probably not, but it's called An Internet Mystery. Their whole thing is the color yellow. And so they do like text in yellow and like all this different stuff. And immediately when I saw that, I was like, with a yellow background.
There it is.
And the Comic Sans, it reminded me of like a 2003 video where that's how they decoded and deciphered stuff. So I was like, oh, it's a cipher. But no, I'm not doing that shit. So
maybe another time.
Maybe not. Yeah.
So the video itself, just the yellow and the rainbow. However, the audio of the video seems to possibly have significance. The audio is actually a song called "Scars Don't Matter" by the relatively unknown country gospel family group The Wilburns. Basically, this song has a clear message. Some of the lyrics are, quote, "Scars don't matter when the battle is won. We will share in the glee of sweet victory. There's glory forever and a crown to be worn because scars don't matter when the battle is done."
Doomsday?
Doomsday? I mean...
Well, knowing me, I wanted to see if there was any more significance to the video. The username and other info led me nowhere.
Okay.
There were no comments that could be found before the ones left from 3 years prior. The song itself was released in 1997 and has ties to publishers, record labels, and producers who are all religiously affiliated somewhere in Tennessee and North Carolina.
Okay.
But today, this is kind of funny, the son of the group, Jonathan Wilburn, is a traveling minister and personality. And he rides the waves of his family's success as gospel singers, literally like righteous gemstones. Like, I'm not even kidding. They did all this shit in the 90s as a family, and now he's like a multi-million-dollar traveling minister in the South. In 2024, he is touring to 62 fucking cities throughout the Bible Belt and is also hosting a Southern gospel music cruise, like sea cruise, called Singing at Sea. Like, this is some Southern Baptist miracle water shit.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the Wilburns are directly related to this, but it's clear that they may have a few followers who are like a little bit unwell. Like whoever made, like, it's so like random. Whoever made the video knew the Wilburns.
Yeah.
I refuse to listen to any of Jonathan Wilburn's sermons, not only because I don't want to waste my time, but also because they are all behind a paywall. So I can only assume that he has a particularly unhinged narrative about heaven, hell, sin, and rapture, like most Southern Baptists do.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. So I don't really know if the video and September 5th are related, but I mean, 2016 is a while back. I think that maybe it was just an unhinged Southern Baptist.
It's just, they just happened to...
Yeah. I was like on his website and I was like getting the creepy crawlies because that world, the Southern Baptist world of these people who do the things that is like really disturbing to me. So
yeah, same.
And I really want to know what Southern gospel music cruises are like. And it was like, oh, 16th annual. I'm like, what?
Oh my god.
16
we
of
should look up
them.
videos of it later.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Now, with the belief that the Happy Valley Dream Survey was associated with Survivor 5 and the September 5th subreddit, it was collectively decided that this strange Doomsday subreddit needed to be investigated further. So, the researchers would find themselves in a black hole of conspiracies surrounding bizarre premonitions, symbolic figures in dreams, new beginnings born out of eternal fire and doom, and the organization. But just when the investigation into September 5th was about to take off, One Regent's original thread would suddenly go missing, along with their later update, and then eventually their account altogether.
This is when they went missing.
Yeah.
When September 5th came into play.
Not only was One Regent suddenly gone, but so was Aliens Did 9/11, who had actually been quiet for quite some time. This left many searchers in a whirlwind of suspicions, and without One Regent leading the investigation, many searchers broke off into their own groups, while others just abandoned the project for good. The ones who left felt betrayed and were convinced that aliens did 9/11, and they were convinced aliens. I'm just kidding. But they were convinced that the user aliens did 9/11 and One Regent created the whole thing up, and they weren't interested in playing this game anymore.
Yeah.
However, the ones that stayed didn't care that One Regent was gone. They were determined to figure it out any way they could, even if One Regent and aliens did 9/11 were behind it all.
Yeah. They basically were like, well, if they did it, we're going to make sure that it was them.
Yeah.
We're going to pin them to it.
We're just going to get an answer to it.
Or if they weren't doing it, why is this now associated with this thing?
Yeah.
Because it was getting way more interesting than just a phone number.
Mm-hmm.
Texting you Rick and Morty quotes.
It's my nightmare.
iRobot. When we look at the original r/5 September 2020 subreddit, you will see that it is wildly different from what it was in 2020. The original September 5th subreddit was fragile, but well maintained, and this was due to the fact that it was a private group and was heavily moderated. Due to months of YouTubers and podcasters, including us, no, I'm kidding. Due to months of YouTubers and podcasters pumping out content about Happy Valley and the disasters to come on September 5th, the subreddit began to be infiltrated. After the September 5th prophecy failure, things would go haywire, and the subreddit would subsequently be hijacked by the infiltrators, people who were trying to get into the subreddit and get information. The time and effort that went into the research of the Happy Valley Dream Survey, especially into these following ending segments, was the most infuriating, brain-rotting, absolutely soul-sucking hours of my life that I will never get back.
Which I'm sorry about.
It's okay.
But I thank you for doing it.
No problem. Reddit can be the most confusing, incoherent, absolutely fucking insufferable hellscape full of the most annoying, rotten, self-righteous, low IQ members of our society spilling over into my psyche, turning me into a person I don't even recognize in the mirror anymore. Regardless of my inner turmoil, I have high standards for the content I create.
Sacrifice.
That being said, my hope is that my unyielding determination to complete this series to my own highest expectations will pay off, as I have worked meticulously in creating and providing the best possible product for you, the listener, as well as my co-host, Dom.
And we thank you.
So, when we look back at the Happy Valley Dream Survey before it was infiltrated, it is so clean and clear. But because it got infiltrated before September 5th.
Yeah, like right before.
Mm-hmm. Since then, you can't find anything. You have to really dig deep and you have to really find it.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating because there's not a lot to find. So I did my best. Let's just begin at the September 5th About Community section. It says, a community devoted to surviving the 5th of September 2020. Join us, read the rules, then share your discoveries, survival strategies, and wedding plans. The sub itself was filled to the brim with walls and walls of text.
Not shocked.
Yeah. Alongside the doomsday ramblings and survival tips and tricks for the cataclysm to come was a large number of users describing their dreams, looking for support, but most of all, looking for interpretation.
Right, because they're having dreams they think are prophetic, and they want to know, what does it mean? What does it mean?
Right. They're definitely, yeah. In the beginning, September 5th only had a little over 100 members, and you may be curious about where all of these members even came from and how they even discovered the September 5th subreddit. And of course, it all comes back to the same user, Survivor 5. This seems pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It is unclear if Survivor 5 created this subreddit, but what we do know is that Survivor 5 is the beginning of it all. Before the September 5th sub was created, Survivor 5 would make an appearance on the r/advice subreddit, where they would post about a dream which they had sometime in the fall of 2019. They believed that their dream was connected to something bad to come, and asked for help with an interpretation. The post read, paraphrased, "What does my dream mean? I had a dream last night that I married a 24-year-old woman, and my wedding day was on September 5th. The wedding was ordained by a man in blue flames. The ring bearer was a boy in orange, and the only guest was an old man wearing purple who had a cane." Survivor 5 would basically go on to explain some sort of event in the dream which led to devastation and loss. And pretty much right after making his first post, he would post a poem on the r/poetry subreddit. "Roses are red. The man in flames is blue. I'm lost in a hallway. What should I do? As the date gets closer, I can't help but fear, will I find a safe place by September next year?"
Beautiful.
I know, right? This poem was not received well on the poetry subreddit.
What?
Many confused users responded asking what exactly Survivor 5 meant, what was going to happen, and if Survivor 5 was planning on doing something.
Yeah, like a mass shooting or something fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and this is like before people were really getting concerned about COVID. It was like in the news, but it was months before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no one was even thinking about end times anything. That like wasn't even something that was on the radar, I think, at this time. It was kind of random. Survivor 5 does not answer and simply repeats that their only plan is to ensure that they are safe when September 5th comes. And so, this is when the first stages of Survivor 5 spiraling began. From late 2019 to spring of 2020, Survivor 5 started spamming loads and loads of unhinged comments and posts on every subreddit they could. Every hour of every day, they would do nothing but warn and ramble about 5/9/2020. So keep this in mind, 5/9/2020, not 9/5/2020.
So not American.
Yes.
Okay.
To say that Survivor 5's posts were all over Reddit was a bit of an understatement. Many of them were brief, but all revolved around September 5th. And here are a few examples. Like there was one on a Stardew Valley subreddit, and it said, "Is this where you will be staying on 5th September?" And then a cooking subreddit would be, "I hope all this bread will sustain us on 5th of September." And then on a band subreddit, it said, "5th September will be exactly 24 hours long." Stuff like that all over the place. Random. Survivor 5 was also in the habit of posting the same weird phrases over and over again. One in particular would be, "When I wonder why, what's never been's never been, so we can lie and say, yes, you know we all love you. What's never been's never been, so hell, we're nowhere now." Is it a quote? Is it lyrics? No, it's another poem, but not just any poem, a very famous poem. This poem is used as an example piece for a phonetic palindrome. A palindrome, if you don't know what it is a word that is spelled the same backwards and forwards, like race car. Mm-hmm. A phonetic palindrome is a word or phrase that when audibly played in reverse, it sounds the same as when it is played not in reverse.
Which is very neat.
Wonder what's never ends, no. We all I want to say yes, you know all the we was never ends, so we are no.
Not sure what the purpose of the phonetic palindrome poem is, but it may be a hint and may come into play later. At face value, Survivor 5's posts were pretty bizarre and erratic, but most people paid no attention. But there were a few who were intrigued, and eventually this is what drew the original members to the September 5th subreddit. So in this next segment, I have attempted to not necessarily create a literal timeline, only consisting of posts or events by dates and times, but a very basic start-to-finish timeline of information that is organized and coherent on a loose timeline. Due to the nature of the subject and the erratic posting of Survivor 5 and others, this was the best way to present this information. Within the September 5th subreddit, we can finally get a little clarity, if we can call it that. All of Survivor 5's important posts were easy to find amongst the others, primarily because they were usually tagged as portent. And by definition, portent is a sign or warning that something, especially something momentous or calamitous, is likely to happen. Survivor 5 claimed that over the course of several months, they had been wrought with disturbing dreams, but as of recently, the dreams of the green hallway, the man in blue flames, their fictional wedding, etc. were the most disturbing. These dreams eventually led them to the conclusion that they were having doomsday premonitions, and although they asked for advice on the interpretation of the dreams, it was clear in their mind that what they believed was completely true. They were like, hey, what do you think this means? And people are like,
maybe. And I know it's a doomsday prophecy.
Literally.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
He's
I'm
like,
right.
what do you think this means? Because I think it's doomsday. And they're like, are you going to shoot a school?
Either validate me or don't say anything.
Either validate me or don't say anything. Within the subreddit, we could begin to see explanations for the significance of certain figures and numbers. Numerically, the numbers 5, 9, and 24 had the most significance. September 5th, obviously, 9/5, the day of his fictional wedding. But they would also mention that this is the day that the old man in purple lost his cane. On this day, bad things would happen, and everyone needed to find a safe place. These bad things included the overall luck of human race, and that the electrical systems would fail and devices would all be cut out, creating a mass hysterical event of sorts. The number 24 was the age of his bride in his dream. They believed that the 24-hour day would bring on a series of terrible events on September 5th, including a severe cataclysm, which was supposedly the Earth moving closer to the sun. When it came to the how and why these events were going to occur, Survivor 5 had an answer for that too, and two of the most important figures would earn their significance as well. In a post, they would declare that they were contacted by a person claiming to be part of the organization. This person would convey that the events to come were not by fate, but were plotted out and planned by the organization. According to Survivor 5, this person was warning them about the evils of the organization, and that they should be deemed as the ones responsible for the future events. So these horrific events were allegedly supposed to be executed by a secret organization called the Organization. But why? According to Survivor 5, the sixth realm, or the dream realm, was going to open up on September 5th, and the organization's goal was to first infiltrate it and then take it over and then control it. For good, for bad, probably the latter. Obviously, Survivor 5 was paranoid that this visit was a form of trickery and was unsure if this double agent from the organization could be trusted, but soon he would come to believe his word. This is because the double agent from the organization was actually the man in blue flames.
From his dream.
From his dream.
Okay.
Because all of this is dream-based.
Yeah.
And the organization thing is really kind of hard to pinpoint because it's never explained. It just is. Mm-hmm. It is just a secret organization. Their plans are to infiltrate dreams and to take control. It doesn't say government. It doesn't say religious. It doesn't say anything. Survivor 5 would speak again and again about their recurring dreams of being trapped in the green hallway. The one dream of greatest importance was posted late 2019, and this was the post. I had another dream. I saw the boy in orange, and I followed him. He led me into a green hallway. Then I was trapped and couldn't find my way out. The man in purple was there, and he told me I had not warned enough people. In my dream, it was the 5th of September 2020. I was trapped in the hallway. I couldn't find my safe space. I think this dream was a warning that I have become too careless, that I'm not spreading the word and warning enough people. We must spread the word. People must be warned of the events on September 5th of next year.
All right.
So Survivor 5 would declare that they knew the green hallway was the opening to the sixth realm, and that's why they were having premonitions, was because they were having access. This is like when it all comes together for them. In early 2020, Survivor 5 would follow up with a post which would take a bizarre turn that was not expected. This post would result in a total shift in the community and their growing beliefs. The post is paraphrased as such. September 5th is coming this year. This will not be a good day for humanity. It is not one single event that is going to occur like many believe, but more of a cluster of events all at once. Different things will happen to different people. Maybe everyone's personal experiences on September 5th will be different from one another. All of a sudden, the events that were said to occur on September 5th were going to become personal. The members that had been following and spectating Survivor 5 in the September 5th subreddit for several weeks were now suddenly involved. Many did not fall for this post, but a handful began to question themselves, collectively thinking, maybe I'm having dreams too, but I just didn't know it. What were we dreaming about that may have been warnings about our own fates on September 5th? You know what I mean? Most people are like, sure, Jan.
Yeah.
But there was a small group that were like, wait, I'm going to experience something different? What am I going to experience? Is my dog going to die? Is my mom going to die? Is my school going to get shot? Like, I don't know.
I mean,
So again, to clarify, there were not many members who were in this deep. And by this time, the subreddit had grown to over 500 people, but only about 100, likely the original members, were this dedicated and immersed. The idea that everyone would experience their own tragic events, as well as the possibility that a collective tragic event could also occur in the world, opened the floodgates. Just like with the legend of this man, dozens and dozens of members began to experience dream imitation, seeing the same green hallway that Survivor 5 was claiming to see. And being that they were all totally submerged in Survivor 5's world of dreams, they too began to follow the green hallway into the sixth realm in order to see their own prophecies. Even if members were not experiencing the same dreams as Survivor 5, they would still share their dreams on the subreddit in the hopes of receiving help to interpret their dreams. Sometimes they were disregarded, other times they were not. Whether they knew it or not, many of the members who had just been playing along now believed they were involved and connected to September 5th, but they also had something else to worry about, because now they had an enemy, which was the organization. Survivor 5 would say multiple times that the organization could trick people, and that sometimes they were capable of controlling people's minds by infiltrating dreams, especially those who had the ability of dream premonition. But now everyone was having premonitions. So everyone involved could collectively come together to focus on a set of very rigid goals. How can we stop the organization? How do we warn the public of September 5th? And how can we save the sixth realm? It's not everybody who was here. There were an astounding amount of people who were like, I'm having these dreams. I mean, this is COVID times too. Now we're getting into it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're moving into the months of going into lockdown, and people are getting really fucking weird.
Yes.
And I think this is a weird right place at the right time thing for this to be able to flourish. And that's why it did.
A recipe. Perfect recipe. Blocks falling into place where they needed to
And
make
Happy
things
Valley,
crazy.
Happy Valley's like about to enter this.
So there was another very significant figure on the September 5th subreddit, one who seemed at times to be just as present as Survivor 5. That figure would be the extremely dedicated September 5th moderator, Portent 5. Portent 5 was very involved in creating threads, responding to comments and questions, interpreting dreams, making sure everyone was following the rules. Portent 5 had status and was branded with the yellow tag, Seer. This tag was not only attached to Portent 5, but to a few others as well. Seers were trustworthy, enlightened, and used meditation practices to have visions and enter the sixth realm. They were highly involved in the September 5th philosophy and were dedicated to enforcing it. As time went on, the September 5th subreddit grew in popularity. The walls were beginning to be infiltrated. Suddenly there were outsiders pouring in, deceitfully making their way through the cracks. Most came to ask about whether or not the September 5th group was a cult, and from an outsider's perspective, this is a fair assumption. Many denounced their philosophies and beliefs as nothing more than a joke or a stupid little game. But to Portent 5, September 5th was not a game at all. Amongst all the other believers on the sub, the philosophies of September 5th really seemed to be Portent 5's one and only truth, and they would carry on and on to the very end. Of course, all the outsiders wanted to know what September 5th's connection was to Happy Valley Dream Survey. Portent 5 was quick to answer them, and their answer was always the same. Portent 5 adamantly denounced Happy Valley Dream Survey, and then would immediately refuse to give any further information and wish the infiltrator luck for their future survival. If the infiltrators pushed too hard against the community or the mods, their username would be branded with the red tag, Organization Affiliated. This label warned others in the community that they were a spy, a non-believer whose mind had been poisoned by the organization.
If you did not believe them, if you were in there and you're like asking questions, or if you were like, this is stupid, you guys are stupid,
Then
anything,
you've probably been brainwashed by the organization.
then you've been infiltrated.
Yeah.
They visited you in your dreams, and now your brain is theirs.
Yeah.
It's really cringy, but also they were like branding people. They weren't kicking them out, they were just branding them.
Well, there were other tags that existed as well, not just Seer, an organization affiliated. The most common was the white tag, which is unknown subject, self-explanatory, a user whose intentions were unknown. The regular green tag was survivor, also self-explanatory, a user who is deemed to be a survivor or someone who will be a survivor. Survivor 5 wore this tag for quite a while. After some time, his tag would be changed to the dark blue Martyr. The pink tag was Dreamer, self-explanatory, a user who has significant dreams. The others that were listed were not as self-explanatory, and there were many. Light green was Sharer, dark green was Searcher, olive Militant, gray Wastes Resources, purple was Watcher.
Like, that was just a few. Like, there were some that I couldn't even find or see.
Which one are you? Which one do you pick?
Wastes Resources, gray.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be olive. I'm going to be Militant.
Okay.
The September 5th sub started with only about 100 members. Now there were over 1,000. The walls and walls of text would be littered with red and white tags, as well as more rambling and unhinged posts and announcements from Survivor 5 and their followers. Eventually, the subreddit began to crumble and was uncontrollable. Portent 5 and the other members could not keep up. No one knew who was trustworthy and who was affiliated with the organization. And by now, the Happy Valley investigators threw in the towel completely over the whole debacle.
They're like, fuck this.
Yeah, it's like too much.
Yeah.
Besides, quarantine was being lifted. It's time to touch grass.
Yeah.
I'm going outside.
Everyone's like, oh, fuck yeah.
This is too much. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm going to go take a walk. Survivor 5 would begin to slow down on their posts about doomsday prophecy, but then would retract and denounce their own information. They would begin to lean on a new date, that of September 5th, 2024. Of course, 24 was significant. How could they have missed it? It all became very confusing, and to the infiltrators, it was hilarious. Soon, Survivor 5 would post an announcement that nobody was expecting. Quote, "People think we are an apocalypse group and that the world will end on September 5th. I would like to clarify that I never said the world was going to end on that day or that an apocalypse is coming. That is not what I have seen in my dreams and visions. Many bad things will happen, however, I do not believe the world is going to end. 9/5, interesting, will not be a one single catastrophic global event, but a series of little bad events in successions. It concerns me that people think we are just another the end is nigh group. We need to be taken seriously. September 5th is coming. Many bad things will happen. Keep your eye on the 5th. Stay safe and prepare. 24.
Yeah. Also, that's how they end a lot of their messages. Stay safe, 24.
All of a sudden, the tone was different. A little more intelligible, a little disinterested, a little more detached. There wasn't going to be a serious disaster, the Earth wasn't going to move closer to the sun, and 1% of the world wasn't going to disappear suddenly. This post changed everything. Under the pressure of all the searchers and trolls, Survivor 5's account would be reported enough to get them permanently suspended, and Portent 5 would abandon the subreddit along with all the other seers and believers of September 5th, leaving it to be eaten by the dogs. Something that I hope we're about to revisit, about why the dates are backwards. Fantastic.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You don't think I'd leave that out, would you? Do you
No.
think?
No.
Okay. So, how does it all end? It doesn't end. The trail goes on, and it leads to a place where I was not suspecting to go.
It leads to a place where I was not expecting you to go.
It just kept going.
You kind of lost it on this one. But,
I was just really, I just kept going.
well, there's research and then there's, pull it back.
Well, because I
'Cause,
wanted to see if there
ooh.
was an end to the Happy Valley, if it was connected.
Sure. You did the Lord's work on this one.
And nothing good came of it. After researching for many, many hours, days even, I finally stumbled upon my golden ticket that thankfully led me in the right direction and brought me to what the truth of September 5th really was. In an early post on the September 5th subreddit, a user wrote a relatively brief explanation of September 5th's set of beliefs and where they come from. In this post, they talk a lot about all the things that we've heard before, except they bring to light one detail that I had somehow missed. And that detail was one that mentioned the importance of the Rising Sun Society. What is the Rising Sun Society? Wanting to find out more about the Rising Sun Society, or if they even existed, I searched for their presence online outside of Reddit. Thank you, Jesus. Eventually, I was able to find their website, therisingsunsociety.wordpress.com. A belief, a purpose.
Is the title of the website?
Yes. The homepage looks like a blog, a moody black and dark blue background with a white block overlay and a header that just says, "Welcome." Following below is an opening statement of some sort that is less than 2 paragraphs of light blue text on a dark blue background. Here is this statement paraphrased, basically. You've probably found this page by accident, or maybe you know it very well. Before you leave, take the chance to read what we have to say. This is a society based on the idea that multiple worlds or realms exist and that each realm could potentially have different laws. Our founder discovered a way to travel into one of them, and since that day, more and more people have had the chance to see into that realm. Things from that realm have different physics and could be used to our advantage. Since we are just starting to discover this realm's potential, we offer you an opportunity. In exchange for your help in assisting in our cause, you will be rewarded with the ability to become closer to achieving your personal desires and goals. This is a long and difficult journey, and many have fallen trying to finish too early. At the bottom of the page, there is a stamp that indicates that the website was created in April of 2019, as well as a line of text reading, "If you are interested in more information, check this," followed by a secret link, or maybe not so secret, just black text on a black background. And this link led me to another page titled, "A Simple Explanation About the Rising Sun Society." I'm like, cool, it's just another fucking thing that says welcome. But it's not simple, and it's different.
Okay.
To put it in layman's terms, the Rising Sun Society's overall goal is to travel through dreams to other dimensions. And in these dimensions, they will be able to harvest knowledge as well as foreign extra-dimensional resources and bring them back to our own realm. From what they say, traveling through dreams to other dimensions is very dangerous, and they have lost many in the process. Their main traveling methods are through sleep astral projection, but they also emphasize meditation as an alternative for those who are able to do so. And surprisingly, the Rising Sun Society denounces psychedelics. Their closing statement offers some evidence which solidified what I had been looking for all this time. Quote, "This whole project might seem irrational to most people, but we've been in the shoes of the person reading the weird poster, letter, or whatever that made them curious to look further into this. All the members who stay long enough can tell you this: you won't regret it. Once we have ensured there is some basic form of trust between us and the people who wish to join us, access to the sixth realm will be given as soon as they are safe and ready to travel." The page is signed off by one single moniker, the Silent One. I thought, okay, I think this is it. I found them.
Right.
Case closed. But then, to my absolute delight, after having spent so much time digging into something that I feared was going to lead to nothing at all, I found the most damning piece of evidence to officially connect the Rising Sun Society to September 5th. And I was like 100% positive that they were related now. Because at the bottom of the page was a foreign word, which I immediately recognized as being in the 24-letter modern Greek alphabet psi. And this word was kinopisi, which according to Google Translate means sharing. But you may be wondering how I knew this was Greek, and the answer is that I had just fallen into a Greek history language alphabet K-hole only a few days prior when I discovered another subreddit that was connected to September 5th and that had been untouched and seemingly unknown. And to keep it brief, the one user who was the most dedicated and arguably the most active beyond Survivor 5 spamming was the moderator and seer Porton5. Porton5 never left Reddit. They just made another page.
Yeah.
So when you go to their account, there's not much to see. Their About Me says disorganization.
Nice.
Yeah. They're modding for two different communities. The first is r/many-bad-things, a subreddit dedicated to the survival of September 5th. Their About community simply reads, "We survive together," along with a feminine female symbol attached.
Like a Venus?
Yes.
Huh,
I think
okay.
that's interesting, right? That comes into play later too. This subreddit was created in November of 2021. It has 13 members and it's not been active for about a year. The second subreddit that they are a mod for is one that is the most important in closing this case. And this subreddit is called r/epivium matzi. It's Greek. On Reddit, the Greek words are typed in a Romanized alphabet, but when they are translated into Psi, it obviously looked entirely different. Psi is an incredibly memorable alphabet to see. So when translated into English, epivium matzi means we survive together. It was created in September 2022 and has 3 posts. One of the posts says welcome. The other post says full moon going private. And then the final one is a push option for a live lounge, a place where members to come together and chat. And there was one visible chat, just a waving hand emoji, which was like a year old. So I'm not a member, but I sent a chat message anyway because it was live. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to do it. And I actually sent 3 messages. And it said that there were users actively online, 3 of them or 4. But at one point, I switched the tab back to chat to see if anyone had responded after leaving it alone for a while. And when I got to the screen, the active user count either said 14 or 114 users. And it disappeared so quickly that I couldn't even tell.
What did you say in the message?
Something like, is this still active? What does Ipivion Matzi mean?
Even though you knew?
Even though I knew. And I said something like, what does it mean? And then I said, I know it's in Greek. And no one answered. So basically, they're seeing me send these messages, and they were coming and they were looking and they weren't responding and they were leaving. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what was happening. So I was like, oh. And then I found the Rising Sun Society, and there's Greek on that page. So I'm like, cool. I would eventually come to discover the Rising Sun Society's private Discord. And I ended up on the inside.
You can't just come out like that. You're like...
Well, because it's like...
So I was doing the research, and then I found their Discord, and I was a member. And then...
That's kind of what happened, though, is like that you can go and you can ask to join, and they'll send you an invite. Do what you want, but that's what I did. And they have a set of rules you have to look at before, and then you have to answer a set of questions in their interviews tab. Mm-hmm. So then once you answer these questions in the interviews, they will either choose to accept you or you will be kicked out.
Yeah.
I think you have a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. They were active on opposite times as me.
Yeah.
So they're not American, obviously. There were about 212 people who were a part of the Discord. There were 25 that were active pretty much at all times. I did answer the questions in the interviews. At this time when I wrote this, I had not been removed yet, and I am still currently not removed.
Well, didn't you say they accepted you and made you a disciple?
Yeah. So I went into my interviews and I basically told them the truth. Mm-hmm. That I was researching about them. I have interests in metaphysical beliefs and interested in what they had to say. And I just wanted to ask them a couple questions. And if they wanted to answer them, I'd be totally down to...
You told them you were like a research writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally. Well, and I told them it would be totally anonymous. I wouldn't, blast them or, do anything like that. And as long as I was able to stay anonymous too. Okay. They're all different kinds of people. And from what I can tell, the one person who is really involved is from Greece. Mm-hmm. They did answer a couple questions for me. I asked them if they were spiritual or religious. I asked them how old they were, what their education was like. I asked them a myriad of things. Tried not to be too personal. But at the same time, I did try to ask them questions that I thought were useful. Mm-hmm. And they answered a few of them. But they are there. Mm-hmm. It's pretty... interesting. It's hard to explain because they don't consider themselves to be a religion. They don't have a set of beliefs. They don't have a set of philosophies. They just have a set of practices. I think that they believe that they are not a religion and that they are not a cult and they don't have any beliefs, and that's not necessarily true.
They're like, this isn't like a set of beliefs. This is just what's happening.
This is just what we do, but they're not like collectively spiritual.
Yeah.
And even so, like when I asked, did you grow up religious or spiritual? Do you consider yourself to be spiritual or religious now? They said that no, they were not raised spiritually or religiously. And they said at times they are, but they did not wish to elaborate.
Okay.
When I did get accepted in and they made me a disciple so that I could have direct contact with some of their higher ups, I think in their hierarchy, mm-hmm. The first thing that they said was, what do you want?
Yeah.
They knew what I was there for.
Yeah.
And they trusted me enough. So.
What did you tell them you wanted? Just to ask questions?
Information.
You're curious?
Mm-hmm. I said information. I just want to know more about you as a collective. I want to know more about you guys. What kind of education they had. How old they were. Mm-hmm. If they were global. Mm-hmm. How religious they were. Where they came from religion-wise.
Yeah.
If they believed in heaven, hell, if they believed in doomsday, if they believed in God or a higher power. It was all kinds of stuff like that.
Like who they are as people to kind of get a feeling for what sort of people made up this group. Okay.
Mm-hmm. When we look at, the Rising Sun Society and September 5th, there seems to be a difference in general. You know what I mean? Like one has a very certain set of philosophies and beliefs about something that's going to happen, whereas the Rising Sun Society is a little bit more of a collective of people who believe that they're all doing the same practices. Regardless of the two separate groups, people fluidly moved between them. Porton 5 was moderating September 5th, but Porton 5 is clearly associated with Rising Sun, very closely associated. I don't think that they are the head of Rising Sun, but they are a higher up in the Rising Sun Society. On the Rising Sun Society Discord, I do believe is another person who is constantly active, who never speaks, who is on the same level as the person I spoke to. The only thing that I've seen them say is that they're trans.
Okay.
Which leads me to the Venus.
Oh.
So, Porton 5 may be this same trans person.
In Greece.
In Greece. The person that I spoke to is Greek. I think that there's 2 Greek people who know each other, maybe in person, maybe not. But they are both kind of at the top of the Rising Sun Society. The person who is above them, I don't see active, and I don't know who that person is. They will not speak to me. But that's one of their rules. Certain people aren't allowed to talk to other people unless it's being like surveyed.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the only reason why I was put in that disciple position. I could probably go back on now, but they could have kicked me already for not responding or not answering quickly enough.
Do you think they'll mind that you're sharing this?
I don't know if they'll know.
I don't know.
I mean,
I wouldn't discount it.
They're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'll get into this probably, but they're not doing anything harmful, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then who cares?
Yeah.
At that point.
Not anything harmful to themselves or each other that I'm aware of. But I can't be entirely sure because some of the things that they have said and the things that I have seen made me wish that I was using a VPN.
Can you talk about them or no?
Pretty much. I thought I was just going to walk into a place with a bunch of people who are role playing. A lot of these people are not role playing. I think that they really truly do believe what they are talking about.
Yeah.
And there are also people who are there who are under the brand from Discord that is warning other users that they are suspected of being part of online terrorist organizations and that they're under surveillance.
I don't know if there's any tie to this. I mean, there could be ties, but unrelated, if you know what I mean. But as soon as you said Greece, you think of Golden Dawn.
Yeah.
Did you make that kind of connection throughout? No.
No.
I mean, I'm just always I'm that paranoid minded, but I mean.
That was literally the first thing that I thought of. If you don't know what the Golden Dawn is.
I believe it's a party, isn't it?
It's a party.
Yeah, it's like a nationalist socialist.
Outright, like we're Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're neo-Nazis. Ultra-right neo-Nazi group in Greece. But was that mostly it? Was just like the fact that they were actually believing?
Yeah. And also like
I guess that's what I would have assumed going in, but I don't know.
But then there was also really like basic stuff of them just like talking about stuff like, yeah, I'm in university, I'm studying calculus, I'm really struggling. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't like math either.
Why did that worry you?
Because it's just really human. It's just actual normal people.
Oh, okay.
It humanizes them. It's less of like, ooh, it's more just like this very normal person who.
So the fact that it was a person who you could pass by on the street?
It kind of adds an element of empathy that I think that people lose when they look into people who are involved in stuff like this. It's not so much that they're a real person with like a real life and a real name and yada, yada, yada. It's always like a person in a cult. It's a person in a cult. How could they be so stupid and believe these things? And it's like, they're just a normal person. Maybe they're playing along and they just like to be there because of the support that's there.
It could be.
Or maybe they really do believe it. I mean, there's lots of there's some like really interesting symbols and drawings and like weird equations, pseudo-science.
Like very involved delusion kind of thing. Nice.
Yes.
Great. Nice.
And lots of symbolism, lots of like people like creating symbols and being like, use this symbol for this meditation purpose.
Okay.
To experience this thing. So that's another thing with them is that they're very into the meditation.
Okay.
And there's no point in being like, well, what really are their true beliefs? Let's lay it all out. Because I think that the only thing that really mattered to me was if they believed in like ascension.
Okay.
Or rebirth. Because Ascension is the red flag when it comes to these groups of whether or not they have the potential to
Be dangerous.
to the people involved or to the other people around them. That is something that I did ask if they believed in ascension, if they were spiritual, if they believed in God or a higher power, did they believe in heaven? What do you think happens to you when you die? And interestingly enough, this specific person told me that they, like I said, did not grow up religious. Sometimes they do feel like they are religious. They say nothing happens to us when we die. But then when I said, do you believe in ascension? They said yes.
Yeah, it sounds like to them it's more about parallel universes, parallel planes, than it is about afterlife, pre-life creationism.
And they do a lot of the same practices that we see in modern day cults. And this dream realm thing, this astral projection thing, all of this stuff is kind of really loosely based around some philosophies and some beliefs and practices within Buddhism. People will like immediately argue that. And I'm not talking about like Buddhism, like real traditional Buddhism.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the like diluted, westernized, adopted spiritualism that is taken from Buddhism. There are people who practice Buddhism traditionally in the West. But there are also lots of Westerners who like to borrow from Buddhism. And it's not uncommon to see some of these practices and philosophies of Buddhism removed from the religion, molded, and then presented as something else that is along the lines or based off of. Old ladies who own cosmic metaphysical shops tend to blur the lines of witchcraft, divination, psychic mediumship, dream interpretation, meditation, and non-religious enlightenment by selling tarot cards, aromatherapy oils, incense energy, powered rocks, and bongs.
Yeah.
So as a result of this blending, Buddhist practices tend to get cherry-picked to fit a certain set of beliefs, and the core values of Buddhism get lost in the mix and can sometimes be misinterpreted, misunderstood, or sensationalized. And when it comes to like the Rising Sun Society, they're not really clear about their practices, and they denounce that they have beliefs. But there is still an influence of Buddhism that's been cherry-picked because it's all about meditation and enlightenment. They're not going to say, oh, it's Buddhism, it's connected to that. It's connected to the westernized metaphysical spiritual beliefs of enlightenment.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And this is concerning because they believe in ascension. People interpret it differently, but the goal of ascension is to rise above or go beyond.
Yeah.
Whether
Physically, spiritually,
anything.
all of it.
Yes. And it's dangerous because members of cults who are often subjected to philosophies with the overall goal of ascension are usually required to shed themselves in one way or another. They're required to shed their egos, worldly possessions and pleasures, original beliefs, their identities, and sometimes their vessels in order to move forward, upwards, or beyond. These groups have a number of disguises, but they usually target the lost, the ill, the ones looking for purpose, sense of self, happiness, or like the answer. And it does lead to death because it has led to death. There are dozens of cults which surround the ideology of an eventual ascension, especially with one that you're incredibly familiar with, huh?
Yes, I am very familiar with it, and I'll give a quick recap. In March 1997, in the San Diego suburb of Rancho Santa Fe, the bodies of 39 men and women were found dead in a bunker. They were all wearing black clothing, black and white Nikes, and their faces and chests were covered with royal purple shrouds. And this was, of course, the Heaven's Gate mass suicide. The members of Heaven's Gate believed that the only way to ascend was to, quote, evacuate Earth. They timed their deaths in order to coincide with the appearance of the Hale-Bopp comet, which they declared was a warning that Heaven's Gate was closing. Ultimately, the comet would be followed by a spacecraft that would take their souls to a higher level of existence. So, in order to ascend, the Heaven's Gate cult members gave up their own lives, and this isn't common knowledge, but many mutilated themselves as well, because a key value in their philosophy was to shun sex, so to castrate themselves in order to ascend. This is, of course, a very severe and tragic result of cult philosophy that surrounds ascension. The Heaven's Gate members were willing to give up their own lives in order to be able to enter a higher level of existence. Although it was called Heaven's Gate, heaven was not where they were planning on going.
Yeah.
They were ascending, not just going to heaven.
That's the difference. They are a part of this community, this really closed off community that's really not understood very well. And they say, I don't believe in anything. And nothing happens to me nothing's going to happen to me when I die. But I do believe that I will ascend eventually. It really disconnects you from an existence that you're currently in. When looking at ascension and enlightenment, some people are sometimes willing to do anything they can to meet that higher state of being, especially after years of like mental illness or social issues, failures in life, or just feeling lost and having nowhere to belong. People are willing to believe anything, especially when the ideology and practices surround something so conceptually abstract, like dreaming and seeing the future. It cannot be proven or disproven. Nobody can tell you no.
Right.
And if they're telling you no, then they just don't believe. But you believe, and there are others who believe in you, and it's kind of like codependency of playing into this game where you're finding importance and purpose that you didn't have before in your life because you're a loner or because you're mentally ill or because you're a failure. You don't fit in anywhere. I always think about this one girl who was a follower of Sherry Shriner who killed herself. She believed that she was going to ascend into her new life because of Sherry Shriner. She's a fucking moron, loser. I'm glad she's dead. And this girl drove her parents' car, and this was really sad because she was like, I hope my parents aren't mad that the car is going to be left on the side of the road after I ascend. She drove her parents' car to somewhere in the wilderness, left it on the side of the road, and walked out into the snow and like drank a bottle of like NyQuil and a bottle of aspirin and lay down in the snow and went to sleep and never woke up because she thought she was moving on.
Yeah.
Like, this is wrong. And she was a part of a community, an extremely small community of people who followed Sherry Shriner. So it's like, this is hugely dangerous, like in ways that people I don't even think of, because everyone's like, well, that would never happen. These people don't really believe in this stuff. You do not know what people believe.
Yeah, people believe all kinds of things.
People believe all kinds of things.
I mean, it's very easy for people to just believe something.
Yeah.
Crazy, off-the-wall shit that you would not even imagine. I think it's so strange that people are like, oh, I would never be in a cult. It's like, are you sure?
Yeah. We were just talking about this last night with Keith Raniere because he was telling people that his IQ was like 145 and they were like, that's crazy. And it's like, where's the proof? Pixar didn't happen. Prove to me that you have an IQ of 145 right now, Keith Raniere. You little bitch.
You little bitch boy.
You little bitch. I hope you die in prison, you little bitch.
Get shanked, bitch.
So people who are desperate fall into this. And a lot of times, even with stuff like this, it's role playing for some people.
Yeah, it's really strange because some people, they'll just role play and they'll just be going along with it just for a sense of community, like you said, because they don't have any support. But then some people are wholehearted believers, really sincere.
Heavily invested
to the point of ending their lives over it. So
because they believe it. People don't even need to be brainwashed by others. They can brainwash themselves.
Oh, yeah.
We live in an era where we see this.
All the time.
All the time. And just because something is small doesn't mean it's not dangerous. I think people think of like Jim Jones, like mass suicide. Who's to say that maybe the 4 or 5 people who are heading this won't collectively kill themselves to just move on? And then they talk a lot about death anyway, because there are people who supposedly in their lore have traveled and not returned. And they blame this on mental illness. And this is also another interesting thing that I haven't brought up yet too, is that when they interview you, they ask you, are you diagnosed with any sort of mental illness? And I didn't really understand, and then I found out that it's because people who are susceptible, mentally susceptible, tend to break, in their own words. People break. So they're very well aware. And if they do eventually, disband, or if they eventually fall apart, or maybe it'll just be 1 or 2 of them, who knows? But I really hope that none of them end up ascending. I hope that they just stay here and find purpose and maybe find pleasure and fulfillment in ways that are not dangerous or could lead to possibly dangerous outcomes.
Sure.
So my conclusion about the Rising Sun Society is that they're just playing with fire. Rising Sun Society is their own thing. September 5th is related because there was someone who was intermingling between the two. And that's that.
Yeah. And it's all dream travel, dream plane.
That's the only reason why it's related.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. Back to the Happy Valley Dream Survey. The Happy Valley Dream Survey was an ARG. I think aliens did 9/11 and one Regent ripped off of the Willamette Valley Dream Survey because it was interesting and fun. And the flyers, the numbers, email lore, cryptic text messages with quotes, iRobot and Rick and Morty, it all aligns with a group of friends who decided to play a game. It just is a game to me. That's just how it seems. It's just a bunch of Redditors who threw something together super fast.
The Happy Valley thing. Yeah.
As a game. And that's just where that went. And it gained a lot of traction because it was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And it got a lot of attention. And they couldn't keep up with it, which is why they were inconsistent in answering messages and fucking with each other and not wanting to let it die out. They just saw the September 5th thing on the sidelines. And they were like, oh, we should just end it. They did the September 5th in Hokkien. And they sent everyone over to September 5th. And then they dropped off the map because they were like, we don't want to do this anymore. This is too much work. So someone would end up texting the Happy Valley Dream Survey number in late summer of 2020. And the Happy Valley Dream Survey would respond and give them 2 phone numbers, both with Salt Lake City, Utah area codes, and just say, please call the following numbers for further instructions. And when the numbers were called, one allegedly led to an automated messaging system for a software company called DVO, who created the Cookin' app. And the Cookin' app is used for archiving recipes for you to share with other users and vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if you search the other number, it just goes to a random person's voicemail that just says, sorry, I missed your call. Leave a message. So, and I called both of these numbers and I know that is a fact. So that's just another thing of stop texting. We're sending you to some weird Salt Lake City, cooking Devo fucking software application fucking company and some random person's number who is not in service, I'm sure. So it's just bro, it just ends there. That's that. Sorry, that conclusion probably wasn't as amazing as it could have been, but
well, I don't know that that's the conclusion because there's still a lot of text on my screen.
Well, we do have to just say that there were some interesting things to follow this, just more copycats. And they started popping up everywhere. There was another flyer that was found in Provo about strange dreams with a QR code. And then there was a Wyoming flyer that appeared, kind of the same thing with different numbers, different messages. There were some really interesting ones that came out of Sedalia in Missouri, and whoever put in the effort into those ones did a really good job. And that is more like an art collaborative thing because they do have a voicemail set up and it's all echoey and it's Zeus answering the voicemail. It's super funny. I tried to record it and then I forgot, but whoever did the Sedalia ones was obviously really as invested in researching this as me, because they have all of these little things that they include palindrome numbers, just like the palindrome poetry. They talk about other stuff, see something, say something, they base it off of other things. And I think it actually is kind of cool that people see this and they're really inspired. And then they do end up making something cool. The Sedalia posters are cool and they are eerie.
Nice.
They're actually putting in the work, and they do have a voicemail. But yeah.
Damn.
I know, that's a lot, huh?
Yeah.
I really got into it.
Yeah.
And that's why. That's it.
I think it's a great ending point.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the height of effort.
Yeah.
And it is really an indicator of what's to come. Season 2.
Yeah. Well, and I can tell you right now, just a little sneak peek for you guys. A little sneak peek for anyone who's still going to be with us after our long break in between.
Our long recording break, anyway.
Yeah, our recording break, editing break in between now and our release date in 2024. But I can say for sure, you guys are going to get more ghosts.
Yeah.
More ghosts.
Ghosts and demons, ghosts
Ghosts
and
and
demons.
demons, ghosts and demons, ghosts and demons. I want to have more ghosts and demons. I want more paranormal. Maybe a little lighter on aliens because we did a lot.
I don't understand what you mean. I don't get it. I, throughout this process of like your research and then my recording with you, I've found a bunch of topics too that I
Yeah.
think are going to be great for.
The laundry list is laundry.
It's laundry. Because guess what? It's a weird and wild world.
It really is. And there are definitely lots of things that I have discovered that I did not think that I would be so interested by or actually be super invested in.
It's
At
a
least
beautiful thing.
my big ones is ancient China. Oh my God, do I love ancient China.
What the fuck?
Yes, when I did the episode, when I did that document, I was in an ancient China K-hole
Why?
because I was researching about
I think listeners should keep their eye out within the next few years for a deep historical podcast from Amber.
you know,
Who knows? That could be.
I do want to say, just on this ending note, that
I'm never doing this again.
this is it. I'm never doing this ever again. But this has been like really rewarding for me and something that's been really fulfilling for me as someone who has had a lot of struggle in their life to find purpose and be able to find something that they actually like to do. I've always kind of shut myself down. I tell myself that I am not a creative person and that I'm not an interesting person and I should just keep to myself. And through this, it's helped me realize that I actually have a drive and a passion of learning. I just want to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just want to learn about the things I want to learn about. You know, and that's been a huge thing for me. So I really hope that that can be recognized, at least by my friends and my family who listen to this.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I've known you for, God, what year is it? Like 12 years or something.
yeah.
Over a decade. I've never seen anything close to what you've been doing,
Yeah.
what you're presenting.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to see.
It was something I didn't even realize was within me.
Yeah. You just need an opportunity to fucking tackle it.
Yeah. I think I just always shut myself down.
Now you don't have to.
No, I don't have to because now I have an outlet,
And now no one can stop you.
a creative outlet, and I can't be stopped.
You really can't. I was like, with this most recent case, I was like, yo, maybe you should take a day off like writing. Maybe just like chill a little bit. You could take a week off. And you're like, I'm taking a week off in April. And I was like, okay, it's October, but okay.
In November. I'm taking a week off in November. Actually, I'm planning on taking 2 weeks.
Very good.
Yeah. So
Take 2 weeks in a day.
2 weeks in a
Give
day.
yourself a treat.
Because I mean, and I don't want to be like, oh, I work so hard, but
you do.
But I
It's
do.
It's a daily multi-hour activity that you're doing.
When I really crunch the numbers, it's really about I work pretty much part-time. I think at the most I work like 30 hours a week. But my weekends I'm writing, and before work and after work I'm writing. I'm writing for anywhere between, and I'm not just writing, I'm researching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm researching, reading, or writing anywhere between like 45 to 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's like a second job and a half. You know, a second job and a half is what I'm trying to say. I wake up early, I write, I get ready for work, I go to work, I come home from work, and I get home and I read and I write. And then I go to bed and I wake up and I do it the next day, every day. On my days off, I wake up and I read and write all day till I get tired and I don't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm just doing it. And it feels really, really good to me now. I don't think I would have been able to do it without you. I don't think I would have been able to do it without Magpie or without my awesome partner who's been so supportive. And I don't think it's too late to start a hobby in your life.
No, it's never too late.
Or to have something rewarding in your life. I think I just went a long time thinking that what my purpose was to do was to work and make money and pay rent. That's what I did for most of my adult years. I didn't do anything else.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
It's just I just work and I pay rent and I work and I pay rent and I work and I pay rent. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So
a lot of people are scared to break out of the cycle because they don't know that they can.
it's hard.
There's potential in a lot of people, and they are too discouraged to pursue it or too afraid. And I'm glad that you are.
Yeah, I was always discouraged and afraid to pursue because I've spent my whole life being socially weak and unable to concentrate in school.
Well, you just needed something to concentrate on.
Yeah, and I also needed to be diagnosed with attention deficit disorder.
No, it has nothing to do with that. Mental illness isn't real. I think you just needed ascension.
Attention?
Ascension?
Oh, ascension.
Attention from ascension.
Ascension. Yeah.
I just ascended for clout.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely spent my entire life telling myself that I was like a fucking loser because I like couldn't accomplish anything. Like I would start things and I couldn't finish them. And I'd get very, very discouraged, or at least, you know, growing up having teachers or friends or people in my life who are also discouraging or also felt that maybe the things that I was interested in or the things that I liked were wrong. And now I'm an adult and I don't have to be a little kid anymore who's not smart or not cool, because now I have a car and I can drive wherever I want.
Fuck yeah.
And I have my own house. And
in that house, you can decide to write hundreds of thousands of words of research writing.
About aliens
and anything else you want.
And anything else I want. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Be inspired.
Be inspired. But for real, like, this has been so great for me. And it's like, not like our friendship has ever suffered or anything or wavered, but also it's brought us together in a way that we haven't had before. Yeah. In a sense of like work and collaborative effort. Yeah, collaborative creation. Mm-hmm. Because you're a creative person, you know, like this has been nothing but good. So I just really hope that no one leaves us during this, you know, break that we have in between this finale and the beginning of season 2, but you'll see us. You'll catch us.
Every fucking time.
You'll catch us then, and we'll see you guys. We'll catch you guys. Oh my God.
Dude.
We'll catch you guys.
You know what's unresolved?
What?
Are we getting out of the... We're not getting out of the grave, are we?
No. We're here to stay.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Catch you on the flip-flop.
Flippity.
Flippity. We'll catch you. Thank you so much for all your support.
Like grave dirt's getting in your brain.
Follow us. Email us. Send us pictures of your cats.
radiogravepodcast@gmail.com.
Don't ascend yet. Don't ascend yet.
Ascend with us later.
Ascend with us later. We'll see you. We'll catch you.
Oh my God. Bye.
Goodbye.
At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere. It is speculated that these objects are of extraterrestrial origin. The broadcast will quiet at this time for your safety. Continue to carry out the following instructions.
Radio Grave is hosted by Amber Byland and Dominique Makasuya. Music courtesy of AOA Music, Carl Casey at White Bat Audio, and intro music by Simon Bickbyler. Audio mixing and editing by Amber Byland. Logo and cover art by Dominique Makasuya. All other media and sound clips used are protected under fair use and are for the purpose of criticism, commentary, news reporting, education, and research. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.